So I think we've got 3 different publishers from different worlds. John was warned that we want somebody who's new, different, would not fall into everybody's category of premium, I think. But how do you define premium?
Yeah, so I think that's probably the thing that makes us different. We look for 2 things, first of all, in something that's good enough for us to publish, and that's shareable and relatable. And if it's both of those 2 things, we don't particularly mind if it's maybe traditionally more of a viral video or a mini documentary series or anything like that. We'll do it all. And so some of our content looks like some Condé Nast, but some of it looks like stuff from You've Been Framed. And we don't think there's a problem. In fact, we love it, the fact that you can laugh 1 minute and then watch something on quite a serious topic the next. And our biggest actually growth area is the serious stuff, more newsworthy stuff, which we now do every day, and we produce effectively a news bulletin style video on the biggest stories of the day.
Danielle, the Condé Nast definition of premium, I think you're one of the first publishers probably that people come to mind, people talk about when we talk about premium publishers. How do you guys differentiate yourselves when you're selling in Condé Nast as opposed to, how do you contrast yourselves to the rest of the market?
Well, I think everyone would probably expect us to say that it comes all down to the execution, and that everything that we make has to have this kind of really premium aesthetic, which it does. But I think we have 2 filters as well, but we create all our own content. We don't run anybody else's. Is it has to have style and substance, and it's not about just creating like really gorgeous moving fashion editorials. It does have to be something that's engaging and entertaining. And when you mentioned kind of your filters for review, ours are very similar. When we're creating content, we're trying to figure out what the relatability factor is as well. I think that our core kind of age range for people on video is between 18 and around 26. So we're not trying to replicate the magazine. We're not even trying to replicate the website. We're trying to create a new kind of window into the Condé Nast brands, which has to look at the ways in which people are consuming content. So we look for that relatability. We look for what the story is, and we look to make sure it's entertaining when we're creating something. And I think a lot of people's perceptions may be that we just create something that looks really gorgeous. I mean, that is something that is important. But it is about making sure, what is the story? Is it educational? Is it entertaining? Why would somebody watch this? And that goes into everything that we do, whether that be branded or editorial.
Christoph, if you want to, in Germany, I know Spiegel has, extreme. I want to give a little bit of background on Spiegel and what your role is in the market there, because it's quite globally, in journalistic circles, it is held in extremely high regard. I believe you've got almost 100 fact checkers just working on facts.
Yeah.
Which one would call old school journalism, and yet it seems that as time goes on, you're almost increasingly differentiated from the rest of the market in terms of that type of thing used to go on probably at The Guardian. I'm sure it does to some degree still. Could you just give a background on what you guys and how you define premium and your role in the German market?
Well, Spiegel really is over the last 80 years, like it really became a huge brand in Germany, which is really like the first name which pops into your mind when you think about its high quality editorial work. That's the first name which pops into your head. And what our way is to do premium, and especially premium video, is that we have the duty to inform every German about the daily news, and we double check the facts, and we are really strict about it. And let's talk about video. When we say video, it's always the fact that it's created by ourselves. We have like only 10% of our content comes from Reuters and whatever. All the other stuff is really created by us. The other thing is we also talk about is it entertaining? We have content partnerships to get like cinema movies, TV series, but it all has to fit with the brand. And the brand has like a real big followership by people who are, they are cultural interested. They're interested in music, they're interested in opera, and they're interested in politics and the whole financial sector. So we have a really intellectual targeting group. So, and this is how we define our premium sector, that we deliver those kind of people everything they want in a real good video and article quality.
One of the things, in the early days of programmatic, there was a conversation around premium publishers are screwed. We're just going to use data now and find our audiences wherever they are, and you'll be able to get it on myshittyblog.com, and there'll be no need for you guys anymore. But more and more, well, some premium publishers are struggling, I'm sure. But why are brands still coming to you guys nowadays? What's the value? I mean, they're paying high CPMs. What do they feel they're getting? Is that based on intuition on their part, do you think, that we should be seeing here? Or is that based on KPIs that you guys are delivering?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that, if you look at a company like Condé Nast, it has been a publishing group for over 100 years. And whilst, yes, up until now, until recently, print has been our forte, I think that people moving into video is largely a business decision, and it hasn't necessarily been necessary. And I think that people come to us because they've worked with us for a really, really long time. I think especially in the luxury sector, they trust us. They trust the people that we bring in to create things for them. And what we're trying to do in video is replicate the same process, but with the right people for video. So rather than trying to get photographers to create videos, which to some degree when we're making moving fashion editorials, we very well might do. But when it comes to creating entertaining video content, we work with directors. And I think it's just about delivering to them the same level of service and the same level of collaborators than we've done in print. And I think that, we can't get rid of 100 years worth of experience. And we've hired people from, various different backgrounds to come in and work on the video department that have the experience. So we're still a completely perfect opportunity for people to create branded content or anything else that's commercial. I
mean, when I think about premium, I think one of the things two publications are probably business publications here in the UK. I think the FT and the Economist. While I think sometimes people sort of simplified that offering into they've got rich people reading it, and that's why that's the value. I think it's a bit more than that. It's about trust, and is trust a big issue for you guys? Like I said, you've got almost 100 fact checkers, and the fact that your readers trust the content, does that influence how brands perceive you as a publication? And is that part of what they're buying from you? Is that there's a buying into your trusted relationship?
Definitely yes. Yeah. Definitely yes. That's one of our big when we discuss like big commitments or whatever with huge brands like Volkswagen or the German Telekom, that's one thing that they always have on their agenda, that they get a real educated targeting group, like a high income targeting group and all that stuff, and they will find it all with us, and they always know that they are just delivering in a when you compare Spiegel with all the other publishing houses in Germany, we're not the biggest, but we are the publisher who does it like in terms of quality and in terms of is it really true, and if you checked it, we're the best guys out there, and that's what brands are buying.
I mean, John, for you guys, I mean, you've obviously got a different proposition. I'm not going to pretend that we're comparing you to Spiegel directly, but how do you establish that trust as we're spraying content across Facebook?
Yeah.
Sorry, just to give a bit of background on your status on Facebook in terms of your
So we actually, I'll answer that as well, but we actually started as a sort of curator of content on Facebook. The funniest videos, the funniest pictures, and we would get it together in one place. And so I think we got a reputation for, in a slightly different way, not in a news format, but in a way of being like, okay, I trust you guys to make me laugh. If I see something from Unilad, it's worth my time watching. It'll be engaging. It'll be shareable. I'll enjoy it, and my friends will too. And now for us, we're building on that, and we're trying to bring in credibility by hiring, I would say, proper journalists from The Guardian, from Vice, and add in that credibility on news too. And it's working for us really well. So we've managed to keep the kind of best the viral, where we 100%, we don't make everything on our page, but we own everything, or we've licensed everything. So the IP is completely ours or licensed, and we have the license for it. But we've managed to keep that bit and then add on the credibility, and we're still working on that, to be honest. But that's the biggest and fastest growing part of our business now. And between the two, like we do 1 billion views a month. So you know, and the majority of those at the moment are from the viral side, but the fastest growing part is from the news side and the mini documentary style.
So, and I mean, does that style of mixing up the content, you know, if you're going to have a viral video of, you know, a granny falling into a river, you know, and then follow it up with, okay, now our branded content, does that not trouble brands, advertisers?
No, so to be honest, well, we're like pretty clear with what we offer to brands, and we've had people do campaigns on all of those type of videos. Some people want to be next to the viral stuff, you know, the campaign, you know, it's what they want a bit more light, a bit more entertaining. That's absolutely fine to have their brand next to that. It's all advertiser friendly, it's all brand safe content if they, you know, it's whatever they want. And then similarly, some people want their brand to sort of sponsor a video series, for example, on quite a serious topic. So they don't have a problem with it, no.
When it comes to using the social platforms, are you all using social platforms to push out your content?
Yeah, I was about to say,
Yeah.
I think in times of YouTube and Facebook, I think you really have to get your feel going, because when, I don't know how you guys like consume video, but if I want to watch something specific, I go to YouTube.
Yeah.
And if I just want to, you know, get in contact with some random videos, I just scroll down my timeline.
Yeah.
So these are the big players in the market. You can't argue that. But that's why we are saying we are producing it ourselves, because our video content is just with us and not with anyone else. I mean, we are using like social media and SEO to get videos on our articles, to get users on our articles, and to distribute the whole video stuff. But we are producing it, and we are hosting everything. And we have another way of distributing it. We have like a content and media partnership going on, where we get like media partners who embed our player. That's the third stuff we do. But I still think you have to create your own stuff, because Facebook and Google are that big that you really have to differentiate yourself and produce quality yourself. I mean, YouTube is more and more producing premium content there, because they know there's the money.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's where we're going as well. And we work with talent and stuff like that. And you're exactly right about the YouTube stuff. You can't use all platforms as the same thing. Different thing for each one. That goes for not just YouTube and Facebook, but like now it goes for Snapchat. Yeah, it goes for all those. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Danielle, for you guys, I mean, you know, again, when they want the Condé Nast, you know, brand, I assume part of what they want is, you know, that nice, slick environment. Does you know, pushing out this lovely content across social platforms, does it compromise your brand or dilute it at all, or is it just simply, do they accept that?
I don't think it does. I think 2-3 years ago, everybody probably thought it was going to, and I think there was a real hesitation in terms of publishing on, you know, maybe not Facebook, but, you know, when I got there and took over the YouTube channel, it was really weird, because actually the brand representation on the YouTube channel was completely different to what you'd expect to find in the magazine. It was also being used as basically an upload platform to host videos that then ran on vogue.co.uk or GQ or whatever. So then what we had to do is completely reskin it and make sure that it felt totally kind of within the YouTube world, but also represented the Vogue brand. And it's a constant conversation that we have. We're actually now educating the teams that do all the social, that it's just like thinking about Facebook, it's like thinking about Twitter, YouTube's no different, Snapchat's no different, and actually to start thinking about how we create content that is kind of native to that platform. But yeah, for sure, originally it was, people were really scared about it, I think, but they've seen, using Vogue as an example, a really good presence on Facebook. You know, they've got 3 million, what do we say, likes, followers, whatever, on Facebook, and then almost 3 million on Twitter, and that's just for British Vogue. So they see the value in it. At YouTube, we're still teaching them, but originally it was definitely a concern. But I think what has happened now, because Facebook's worked out so well, they're now trying Snapchat for Miss Vogue as a starting point. You know, I think for Vogue it's a bigger, scarier thing, but I think for Miss Vogue it makes complete sense, and they'll be able to test the value in Snapchat before moving on to doing it for Vogue. But I think had they not done Facebook before, had they not done Twitter, Snapchat would be absolutely terrifying.
You're kind of going in the opposite direction, John, aren't you? You're sort of going in from a Facebook-centric model, and you're sort of trying to
branching out pretty much. Yeah, so we started on Facebook, and Facebook is still our biggest platform, and we're basically the #1 page on Facebook in the world for engagement. So it's us and then Cristiano Ronaldo second. So we are growing quite fast on pretty much every platform. Well, very fast, and I think because we think we've kind of got amongst the millennial space, and particularly sort of 18 to 24, if you ask anyone the name Unilad, they will know it, and that helps tremendously when you're growing on, trying to move on to maybe new platforms.
Does that? I mean, you know, the scale is astonishingly impressive, and in that space of time to build that up across that platform, I've nothing but respect for you. However, you know, all of us on the internet, you know, we all look at shit sites. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 people who've even looked at pornography in the room. People don't always look at stuff that they necessarily think, I trust this because I look at it. I don't think viewing something necessarily suggests that you trust that brand. I mean, is that?
Yeah, look, I think there's different ways to look at it, and we were talking about it before, like, trusting on news. I don't think someone is going to go to Unilad now and go, I trust these guys as much as the BBC on news. Yeah. But if you're looking to be entertained, I think yes. I think you'd think, well, and our stats prove it. You know, we got our full video view rates are brilliant. You know, the amount of not just views we do, but the amount of growth we're seeing. We grow by 150,000 fans a week on Facebook. It's still getting shared. So I think the proof is in the pudding on that, really, to be honest. We are doing really, really well because we are trusted on the entertainment side of things. I think we're going to have to work hard on the news side, definitely.
When it comes to monetization, I mean, time and time again, I hear from our friends in the ad tech space that, you know, these premium publishers, they just won't give us their video, you know. Are you selling programmatically? Are you selling it direct? How are you selling your video?
Well, basically we have like a classical waterfall setup. We have our direct sales team, which is basically selling almost everything out most of the year. Well, not during the summer, but most of the year it's sold out. Yeah. And right after that, the second look goes to my SSP, and if they are not selling it, it goes to a remnant marketer. That's basically how we do programmatic. So it's not remnant for the remnant stuff. It's really like basically it's like a additional phone on the desk. Yeah. You know, it's more like an additional sales channel for us. Remnant and we're selling the same price as everything. Everything is the same. They're running on the same priority and everything.
I've just never heard the term remnant marketer, and it makes perfect sense. But we always talk about remnant inventory, but you're the leftover agencies. It's nice that they turn that around. So, John, for you guys, I mean, can you monetize your Facebook?
We do a couple of things on our site, which we get about 30 million uniques on our site a month. We do some programmatic stuff. We are focusing, and it's like a waterfall, like you said, but we are focusing more on branded content, to be honest. And that way we can use all the audiences that we've built up on all the other platforms. And we make bespoke branded content for clients, and it gets seeded out the same way as our other content.
Yeah.
And in many ways, actually, it does better than our other content. So, yeah, no, we think that's where it's going, to be honest.
Yeah. How about you, Danielle? Are you?
So we're only 9 months old, really, in terms of video. So we set up the department from scratch. And obviously, in order to be able to sell a lot programmatically, you need to have big scale. So for us right now, that's definitely not the focus. Like you, it's branded content. That's definitely where we see the most opportunity, because it comes back to that idea of trust. And the idea is that people come to us because they want us to create premium content. They like being associated with Vogue. They like being associated with GQ. So the idea to them of creating branded content in collaboration with us is completely a no-brainer. So that's definitely where we've focused all of our attention. It's definitely not something that's off the table, but thus far it hasn't been a focus for us.
You were at Vice before, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
When am I ever going to do an interview where that doesn't come up?
Yeah. Oh, it's relevant to what we're about to say. So I remember the first time I visited the Vice office and was being shown around by Danielle, and I was more focused on the advertising side of stuff. I was like, what are you doing programmatically, that kind of thing. He said that stuff, it pays for the day-to-day bills, but the big money is in here, And there was this big long table. He said every single one of those, not one of them is a journalist, not one of them is a content creator. They're all ex-OMD people creating branded content. And he said that's why we're doing so well, and that's why everyone in Vice seems so much happier than in traditional news outlets. I think. So is this the way the market's going? Vice are killing it. They're the one publisher rapidly growing. Is this something that can be replicated across? Obviously, you've left Vice. I know you've nothing but nice things to say about them. But is there the same opportunity left for other premium publishers to replicate that Vice model and clean up just as much and restore confidence in publishing?
I think so. I think that I can't believe I'm talking about Vice, but the thing about Vice is they spotted an area in the market and they completely killed it. Is anyone going to challenge them in the same way? It's going to be really hard for them to do that. They did a really good job of verticalizing everything, music for millennials, fashion for millennials. And I think there is the opportunity in different areas for different publishers. And I think being able to create content, my biggest recommendation would be just not to go after things that they do, because they do it incredibly well. But I do think there's a massive opportunity for other publishers, otherwise I wouldn't have left.
So again, it's the downside of Spiegel's focus on a purist approach to journalism is that getting your hands dirty with making branded content for brands. Is that something you're doing? Is that something that would compromise the Spiegel brand?
I really have to. We are producing video content which is relevant for our targeting group, and how our way is to let's talk about one example I got. What we offer is we produce documentaries, or they're almost 1 hour and a half long, and we see that view-through rates really they get really to the completion. And the post-click performance, I get this from agencies. I mean, when we talk about the German market, it's not. I mean, there's a big potential for programmatic, and there's a big potential for video still, but as a brand in Germany which wants to do branding in Germany, they could say we just go to YouTube and give everything we got in there. But we're in most of the media plans still, because we deliver really good KPIs, especially in the post-click performance. When they click through a video ad and they go to our site, I think because our users over the last whatever years, they trust our brand, and brands who do pre-rolls or mid-rolls or whatever, in-stream, out-stream formats, whatever, on our site, they're really, these two brands go together like peanut butter jelly, and they really like they really like the effect they get from Spiegel.
So for you guys, what, in terms of creating your, when you're creating branded content, are you typically, who's coming to you with that money? Is it the brand or is it the
We do a
agency?
mixture, agency and brand direct. It depends. At the moment, it's a lot of people looking for sort of in the entertainment space. And I think from our point of view, like looking at someone like Vice, we think they're good at what they do. But we think we're a lot better at social stuff, like a lot better. So, but I think that we're trying to offer that as our sort of unique selling point, that we'll get it to lots of people and it'll be relatable to them and they'll share it with their friends. And you'll reach, if you're a movie studio looking to market the latest movie, you'll reach loads of people who'll then share it with their friends and say, most of the people who comment on our stuff, it's a comment that says, oh, Vincent, you need to go and watch this too. It's kind of, you get that the sort of social proof of someone else recommending it. So that's something that we offer, and we think we do that really well. And because it's social as well, we can offer very timely solutions. So we did something for a brand the other day, and it was directly after a Champions League football match. And it was a football piece of branded content starring Ian Wright. And we got 5 million views for that piece, 1 million of which came in the first 2 hours. We effectively, I guess on that one, we're competing with TV. The adverts on Sky Sports after the match finishes, well, most of our audience, they don't stay for those adverts. They go on their phone, and we released that piece of branded content straight away after the match, and that's one of the reasons it did so well. We think there's plenty of room for all of us, Vice included.
I don't work there anymore.
So, and you.
The Vice baggage. Is this our premium publisher? Again, sorry, I've kind of referenced this OMD example. Is there, should publishers be bringing in agency people and be behaving more, not being an agency, but behaving a little bit like maybe creative agencies, and then blending that with their skill set? When you see stuff created by a creative agency for a segment, do you feel that they're able to relate to your audience as well as you guys, or?
No, absolutely not. So I love people who say that. They understand millennials and stuff like that, and they're going to do social well and stuff like that. I think, look, we actually started on social. That's the key difference for us. We were a Facebook page before we were a website, which I think is probably different than pretty much everyone else. And because of that, we speak to our audience, 8.4 million of them, all day, every day. And that's why we say that we can do the branded content, the advertising. We know them better than you do, basically. So we should do it. And that's we are hiring from agencies, and we are hiring we are becoming an agency as well as a publisher. Yeah, for sure.
When we're using social platforms to drive these mass audiences towards branded content, a newsfeed is sort of inherently, it's sort of just chucked at you, and sometimes you just randomly click on something, not knowing, what it is, whatever. And yet there's a sort of belief in the content marketing world that, this is some sort of, they're always talking about, they love the word authentic, this is not an authentic engagement online. But a lot of time it's like, I didn't realize it was this. Or you watched a nice piece of content and you go, this was really good. And at the end you realize, oh, Jesus, it's sponsored by Pepsi. And you realize that there's Pepsi cans throughout what you're watching. Does this authenticity in content marketing, does it exist?
Yeah, I think so. So I think that's what you've described there as bad content marketing, to be honest. Look, for a couple of things that we would look out for is, obviously we look for a number of views, that's important to us, but also watch through to the end. People watching through to the end is key, because I think if you click on something, fair enough, you can just be scrolling through and click on it, but you're not going to stay for 2 minutes if it's a waste of time. And similarly, that's why I talked about the engagement side of things, because in terms of likes, comments, and shares, those are probably a more accurate measurement of how good your content is. and we're the best at that in the world. So I think that's important. I think in terms of authentic, you've got to be clear with the audience. Don't treat them like a fool. People like understand that as publishers, you've got to earn some money somewhere. So as long as you're giving them good content, they don't mind. And as I said before, sometimes there's better. If we associate ourselves with a brand that millennials like, it will be better. It has done better in the past than if we just do a normal piece of content.
Yeah, I'm sorry, maybe I'll bring you in on this. I still struggle a little bit with the idea that I think as soon as there's brand money involved, there's some sort of compromise there in terms of the authenticity of the content.
I think that comes down to being clear about the fact that a brand is involved.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of a branded content piece that I did when I worked at Vice, we did one, I ran the video department for ID, and we did one called the A to Z of Dance, which was a branded version of an editorial franchise. And it performed the best out of anything we'd ever done. And the reason being was because it was really entertaining, but we'd had the brand's money to make it better. We were very clear about the fact it was brought to them by Diesel, and all of the comments underneath were like, I don't care if this is branded content, it's great. So I think there is a fine line. I think, to your point, don't try and package it up as something that is completely editorially, independent. If you're clear about it, I think if you're bringing, if you look at magazines, for instance, you look at newspapers, who pays for the content? Who pays for the editorial content? Most of the time, it's advertisers. This isn't like a million miles away. For news, I understand it's a completely different thing. But when it comes to fashion and entertainment, I think it's not a big deal. But my advice on it would be, if you collaborate with a publisher, trust them to create the best content to reach their audience, which is the audience that you want to reach. Don't try and micromanage them. And I think that is one of the things that I've experienced a lot on the kind of branded content side of things. It's not cheap commercials. It's native to the platform to appeal to their audience. You're working with that publisher because they know that audience best. And don't try and get them to make you a 50 grand commercial, because it's not going to work. It's the wrong platform. It's the wrong audience. And I think that's something that's very important to bear in mind. And that's where you'll be successful as a client with branded content, is if you work collaboratively with the publisher to create something that you find a middle ground.
One of the things that have sort of led to the explosive growth of video has been the outstream formats, which can be embedded in articles. And yet, I find myself often in conversations where people are comparing these outstream ads, almost saying that this is actually more display 2.0 than, even though there's a video there, that it's almost like an upgraded version of display advertising. I mean, are you guys using outstream? Do you sell that for the same, comparable CPMs to your in-stream stuff?
Well, yeah, we're using both in and outstream, but outstream is not really, I think it's not really possible to compare those two.
Yeah.
We're selling it from the CPM point of view. It's below in-stream because the cause is that the view-through rates are way lower. I heard that in Germany you have like about 20% view-through rate for outstream formats. We have about 30, but that's still not comparable with in-stream. And it's not, as you say, it's more like a display format. You can't really compare a format which runs right in front of like editorial content and between articles. I mean, that's also editorial content, but you have nothing behind that. So it's not really comparable, but it's still a real good, like kind of complementary product for your video monetization.
What about content syndication? I mean, this is one of the very frustrating things I've spoken to about, with publishers where, particularly in the early days of video, they were saying, we just can't afford to create video. I said, you can syndicate it. BBC, ITV, they all buy content from elsewhere. They don't produce everything in-house. Are you guys using syndicated content? Are you buying content in as well?
Yeah, a little. We produce about like 85 to 90% we produce ourselves. Yeah. We really, most of you won't know this, but Spiegel used to have like a TV channel, used to be a broadcaster, but we sold that one like way years ago. but we still have the competence we have the TV studio there, and we're still producing for other broadcasters like the RTL group or a 7-1 group. No, nobody knows this, but we do. And we still have like a TV, yeah, you can call it like a news format, which runs like Sunday night, and we're still producing it in-house. So most of the stuff we're producing ourselves, but we have some partnerships like Reuters for the real hot stuff, which we can produce that fast because Reuters is way faster than we are if something happens in the world. So we need those guys, but most of the stuff is produced by ourselves.
If we were to give a sort of couple of lines of advice, each of you, we're going to have to wrap up. I realise I've got our zero sign flashing. If we give sort of maybe a couple of sentences of advice to premium publishers out there trying to maybe get started with video or succeed in video, what would your advice be?
Thanks. I would say treat each platform and each audience differently and with the respect that they deserve. So if needs be, adapt to them rather than just doing what you've always done. And come talk to us as well.
Nice final point.
Doing consultancy, cool.
I would say it's something quite similar in the sense of respect the platform that you're on. But I think the key thing is just to think about how you build your brand in video. And I think that's the key thing that we've learned, and you probably have a very similar thing, is that, Vogue has been a brand for a really long time. If we go out and start racing to produce lots and lots of content that's a bit hit and miss, we run into the chance that perhaps we might ruin that brand forever, which is a big cross to bear. So you kind of got to take your time. You've got to figure out what that brand stands for. And I think figuring out exactly what your content strategy is, who your audience is, and marrying those two together is a really good starting point. And you can take your time on things like that, especially if you're a kind of either a news or more of a premium publisher. You have to get it right from the beginning. So,
Christoph?
Yeah, well, almost everything said, but
in
addition to that, I would really go with, we're working really, really intensively on this, is quality, that the streaming quality is really good, because I think most of the users out there, they really want good video quality, they want good targeting with ads, and they want they want relevancy, they want relevant content and relevant ads right in front of it. I would probably go with that one.
I think this is one of the first panels we've ever done with no one from AdTech involved where it's just been published. So it's been a real pleasure, and it's been great to get some insight into what you guys are doing. Cheers, give a round of applause for our wonderful panelists. Cheers, thanks. Thanks guys.
Yeah, thank you.